A few weeks ago, I received a message from my local audio store asking if I'm interested in checking out and reviewing the new TinHifi Dudu. Thank you CSI Zone for providing the TinHifi Dudu for review. Even though this unit is provided by CSI Zone, the review I will be sharing is completely my own opinion. Although I would like to share a little story about me and CSI Zone. Years ago, when no one actually knew me, and when my reviews were not good, nor it is good now either, I went to CSI Zone by a recommendation of a friend. I went there to try items while covering them. I made a couple of shorts in CSI Zone, and they treat me really well. It is there where I experienced the Blessing Tree, the Venus, and even the LCD-X for the first time. They also helped me set things up for the best listening experience back then. I think if you are in the area, you should try and visit CSI Zone store. Enough about CSI, let's talk about the TinHifi Dudu. The TinHifi Dudu is actually a lot of firsts for me. The first Planar IEM I actually covered in a review video, and the first TinHifi IEM I tried and reviewed. Thank you again CSI Zone for trusting me with the review of the TinHifi Dudu. The TinHifi Dudu is a Planar Magnetic IEM, costing around $80. The one I have here is the commemorative edition. The difference? It came with two cables, a DSP cable and the usual 3.5mm cable. If you are interested in checking out the detailed specs, I will link TinHifi's website in the video description. The TinHifi Dudu did not come with a huge box compared to the Freya, nor were they as big as the Truth Ear Zero Reds. Although, I think compared to the Zero Reds, they are rather fancy looking, as they came in a pretty hard box with padding on the top lid. Presentation-wise, I think if they have ear tips card, it adds some points to the presentation. Accessories. The Dudu came with a pretty good amount of accessories, 3 types of ear tips, and a cable for the standard edition. Since I have the commemorative edition, I got 2 cables in the box. I think, overall the package is pretty good, although it is missing something. I think it is missing a carrying case. Not that it is a big deal, as you could always buy a third-party case, but it would definitely add more points if they included a case. The standard 3.5mm cable is rather thin, but it does feel very compliant and easy to wrap. Not to mention the hardware they use, from the jack to the 2-pin. It feels of nice quality, especially the 3.5mm jack. I really like the texture of it. Perhaps it is not a fancy knurling, like I've initially thought, but I think the texture does bring out some of that premium feeling. This is perhaps my third favorite included cable I've reviewed for the price. The first one is of course the cable that came with the Shure DZ4. And for the second place, it is the Star City 5 Pro. I think the fitment is actually the first note I have with them. Their body is rather huge, with rather short nozzles, making the fitment slightly shallow. I think if you are planning to get this and do not have a lot of ear tips, you should consider purchasing a couple of long nozzle ear tips. Luckily, I got a couple of ear tips, and the Dudu does include a few ear tips to choose from. For me, the fitment of M100 from EPZ and the included all-gray ear tips fits me better. Moving to the design is either clean, I think gunmetal gray, or just metallic gray, with I think non-metallic faceplate, as they are not cold to the touch. It also feels quite light to handle, perhaps reminds me of performance car parts, something that is light and sturdy. The color combination of copper cable and gray earbuds are also really nice, in my humble opinion. It gives somewhat a classic timeless look. The shape itself looks a lot like 7Hz legato, and the filter also reminds me of the nozzles from the 7Hz 02. About the comfort, with a shorter nozzle ear tips and deep insertion, the Dudu can get uncomfortable after some time. The first few days of trying the out-of-the-box setup feels rather discomforting, and I had to take a day off to make my ears feel better. After changing the ear tips, I find the Dudu fitment is just okay, not too discomforting, nor really comfortable for long listening sessions. I think it is good that it kinda encourages you to always practice safe listening, like not listening to them too loudly or taking rest every hour or so. But I digress. The sound is rather fun and clean, with good sound staging and good imaging. I think if you like fun detailed sound, this set might be for you. Let's talk about it. The treble performance of the Dudu out of the box is rather sharp and mildly annoying. But after you warm up to it, and perhaps after burn in, the sound is rather good, as the treble is well extended to give you a crisp cymbals on rock or metal tracks. For me, it is on the Bring Me the Horizon tracks, but your mileage may vary, as per usual in the audio scene. I think the treble performance of the Dudu is pretty comparable to the Star City 5 Pro I reviewed a while back. They both have a pretty good clarity and share a similar price point. I will talk about them in the other section. For now, let's talk about the mids. Starting with the Dudu upper mids, I think the vocal sticks out slightly to other frequencies, giving it a sense of vocal forwardness. Compared to a single dynamic driver IEMs, like the Wyvern Abyss, although technically it is unfair to compare a $30 IEM to a $80 one, I think the sound presentation of the Wyvern Abyss is rather thicker and feels weightier compared to the Dudu, which can feel slightly thin at times. Compared to the Z4, which is still unfair as that one has multiple dynamic drivers, the Dudu seems to have a slightly thin upper mids. I have no issue about it, as it is not a perfect comparison, and both planar magnetics and dynamic driver have their own strengths and weaknesses. Rewinding time a little to the first time listening with the Dudu, the mids is rather shouty, but once I warmed up to the tuning and perhaps the drivers are already burned in, the Dudu sounds natural, and the upper mids has already calmed down a bit. The bass presentation of the Dudu is rather bassy and clean at the same time. Perhaps it is the faster response of the planar magnetic driver, or maybe it is some other thing that makes the Dudu sound so clean, while being thumpy and punchy enough to be pleasant and fun to listen to. This experience took me back to the first time I went to CSI Zone and tried planar headphones for the first time, which was the Venus from Moondrop. I'm really sorry if I sounded like they paid me a lot of money to say good things about them, but they are not. I am just happy that they helped me at that time to set up the best listening session possible. But I digress. What makes me like the Venus so much is how clean and fast everything feels, but also balance out the fun factor of listening to music with your audio gear. The closest thing I have to the price point of the Dudu. The Star City 5 Pro may sound leaner overall, but the dynamic driver bass characteristics are just different to the planar bass on the Dudu. However, the Dudu still have a pretty enjoyable, punchy and thumpy bass. I think the bass presentation is what differentiates the two. I like both, but the Star City 5 Pro does have an ace up its sleeve. The Star City 5 Pro is way easier to dive and isn't picky about source. However, if you are getting the commemorative edition, it does come with a DSP cable and will most likely fix the issue. perhaps my go-to song with the TinHifi Dudu, as it highlights the impressive detail reveal. The stage does feel quite wide, with good imaging and layering. Not to forget the tonal performance of the Dudu, as they are really enjoyable to listen to for this song. My favorite part of the song is actually around the 3-minute mark, where the separation between electric guitars, bass guitars, and drums are noticeable. And of course, the part is really fun to listen to in general. This song is my benchmark for sound staging and positioning. In case you haven't listened to it, it is a pretty good song to test. As on the Neo 3, which is a rather dark, warm IEM, it feels like I am watching inside a box, quite far from the stage. I did not find it necessarily bad, as I still quite enjoy the sound of them, and I kinda miss the experience. Listening to it with the Dudu, it feels like they are performing rather close to you, but not too close. The sound staging is also wide. The imaging is good, with good layering too. Overall, I think the sound staging and imaging of the Dudu is both pretty wide and pretty accurate for the price. The TinHifi Dudu is a new Planar Magnetic IEM from TinHifi. The unit I reviewed came from CSI Zone Indonesia. Thank you again for sending them in for review, and thank you for trusting me with the review. Costing around $80, they advertise balanced sound. They even said it on the box, which I find they deliver. The balance between vocals and instruments is pretty good with this set. It also balances out the technical performance and fun aspect of listening sessions. I feel rather indifferent about the cable, as I find them okay. They do feel quite thin, but their flexibility and hardware choice made up for it. I think if you like fun, clean sound, and are pretty deep in the audio rabbit hole, the TinHifi Dudu might be the one for you. As for the ratings, I give the Dudu a B+ for tonality and an A- for technicalities. That is it. That is my review of the TinHifi Dudu. Thank you again CSI Zone for making this review possible. Thank you Mr. Data for offering and trusting me to review the TinHifi Dudu. Have you ever visited CSI Zone? Do you have the Dudu? Share your thoughts and opinion on the comment section. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day.